Hey all, if you're not caught up to the latest episode, you might not have heard the good news, but our Ghosts of Harrenhal merchandise site is open for the holidays. So if you're looking to get your loved one some Ghosts of Harrenhal merchandise, head to our shop. Or if you're interested in asking your loved ones for some Ghosts of Harrenhal merchandise for yourself, head to ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com and stock up. All right, on with the show.
Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 268 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 42, Life, the Universe, Everything, of A Feast for Crows. That's Brienne 8.
I believe you do that every time we hit chapter 42 in all four of the books.
I think we have to. It's very good.
Well, anyway, we're going to chat about the chapter like we always do, and we're going to try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers, and I would suggest you consider taking a look and considering those. If you have that tier, we are going to spoil things for you, but regardless, we'll hopefully provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide additional information about the characters, geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. The Steelers tried to give their game away today against our divisional rival.
But they failed even in that.
Well, yeah, we won by 13 points, but we were up by 20 with about 6 minutes left, and it got more intense than it should have been, as they're wont to do. Mm-hmm. But it was a good cap on what was otherwise a unexpectedly stressful weekend.
Yes, you gave me a indication that it had been stressful, but not in what way. Do tell.
All right. Well, so the day was Friday. The time around 5:15, which most working professionals. That's a pretty good time. Around 5:15 Friday, I had just logged off from work and come downstairs into the kitchen. Stacy was going over to a friend's house to meet up with some of her friends for Friday evening, and I was thinking to myself as I was walking down the stairs, what am I going to do with my Friday evening to myself? I come into the kitchen, probably a Christmas carol in my head or so, and Stacy goes, What's this water on the floor?
Oh, no.
So she gets down in front of the dishwasher.
Oh, no.
And I take we have to mop it up. It's enough that there is a puddle there. I take the panel off of the base of the dishwasher, and there's a hose that connects from the hot of the coming into the house to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Well, the valve on it, the kind of the neck, not where the connection actually is, but just behind it, where the nut that connects to the hose. You follow me?
Right. Okay, I'm getting you.
Water is dripping out of there at a decent pace.
The hose would be a lot better.
Yeah. well, it was the hose, but because my first thought would be, I replaced this thing like 8 years ago. Why would it be leaking now? I think valve.
If I said those words, that would also be the answer to the question.
I think the gasket gave up, and so water was getting through the gasket and dripping out the back of the nut. So anyway, there's a bit of a lake on our hardwood floor underneath the dishwasher. So Stacy gets up and runs down to the basement, and sure enough, there's a big green purplish spot in the ceiling, and the floor is wet. And so I answered,
water is the worst. Water is the
it is. It can be as bad as fire. It can do as much damage as fire almost. And so I asked myself,
but typically when your house catches fire, you notice it.
Well, true. There is, yes. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah. Underneath there, I had no idea a lake was forming underneath the dishwasher. So I asked myself the question, what am I going to do with my Friday to myself?
Yeah, there you got your answer.
Yeah. So I got the hose replaced and everything, but I'm not going to put the panel back until I've watched several days of dishwasher usage and running the rinse. And so anyway, that was
I'm sorry, man. So you're going to have to replace the hardwood and stuff? Is that going to have to happen? Or are you just
the hardwoods are in need of an overhaul anyway. But now like underneath the sink, you know how wood kind of pulls up on the ends? Yeah. It's done that a bit. And
this has all the hallmarks of Cersei.
It does. If I go up there and there's a shower door in the kitchen,
it really would be a mercy if we replaced that hardwood.
Right. At least down here in the basement, we have a drop ceiling, so I only have to replace several ceiling panels, not
I see.
The entire hardwood. I mean, drywall ceiling. So I've just had a fan running to try and dry out the joists and stuff. Anyway, so but the Steelers won, so that helps a bit.
That's such a heartbreaker as well, because I can't imagine what it's like to hit 5 p.m. on a Friday evening and have the place to myself. But my God, I'd be excited.
It's kind of rare for a middle-aged married person too. And I was thinking, I'll go out and get something to eat. Maybe I'll watch a show or something. And nope. I ended up eating a peanut butter and jelly while I was working on the situation. So anyway, how's your weekend been?
Well, Carson had a good story from last week. Actually, she was telling me Carson taught me a new word. She's doing this sort of environmental education type thing. She does field trips for kids, the schools bring the field trip to her. And she taught me a word that I didn't know. Do you know what the cold-blooded equivalent of hibernation is?
No, I can't say that I do.
I didn't know there wasn't such a thing. But it is brumation. B-R-U-M. Brumation.
Oh, brumation. Okay.
Yeah, that's what lizards do. They brumate.
Yes, okay.
And the first class, so she learned that as part of this new class she was going to teach. And the very first class she taught, including hibernation and brumation and things like this, was to a bunch of pre-kindergartners. I said, did you teach them that word? Because that would be, given that it took me 54 years to learn that word, these 4-year-olds would be way ahead of the curve if they learned it.
I'd say, yeah.
She said, I was going to, and she said, but when I passed around the acorns, 3 of them started eating them. She said, so for them, all animals hibernate.
Well, I have to say, eating them is better than what I thought they were going to be doing, which is throwing them at each other.
My other story from this week is I had my annual physical.
Okay. And, did you cram like I did for the cholesterol? Oh, you're on a pill or something.
So the thing was, last year I did, and I aced it. So this year I was much more relaxed about it, and I didn't ace it.
Oh.
Yeah.
No salads for a week like I did.
My doctor, I told you before, I surround myself with people who laugh at my jokes.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get to choose my doctor. She's just my doctor. She is not one of the team.
That's right. You've told me this.
She's not charmed by me in the slightest. But I was sitting waiting for her in the room, and it was a sign on the poster on the wall that said, "Let us know if you're going out of the country." And as you know, one of the reasons we're recording at a weird time is because I am going out of the country. I'm actually going to Costa Rica, which is going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and she is laying into me about my failings.
Are we married or something? Am I not
You promised me this and you did not deliver. And so she's going on and on and on. And eventually, just to stop it, I blurt out, "I'm going to Costa Rica." this backfires because she's the CDC had just issued some warnings about Costa Rica, and I end up getting 2 injections as a result of me blurting this out. Me and my
Did I say
mouth.
Costa Rica? I meant
the coast of North Carolina.
Yes, coastal Carolina.
But she said, when we finished with the talk about Costa Rica and what I needed to be careful about, she said, did we finish talking about your blood work? And I was like, I don't think so. I just had to sort of try to redirect you because I felt more judgment was coming. And at this, she laughed.
Oh, there you go.
That was it. That's what it needed. She needed to know that I was trying to manipulate her and I was admitting to it. This she found funny.
All right, you have found the angle here.
Mm-hmm. But right. now I'm on 6-month checkups with her. Oh, because I resisted increased dosage of things, and she said, "All right, well, you're coming back in 6 months then." So
okay,
there'll be a salad week.
Yes, you bet. I'm telling you, cram for that test.
All right, let's get down to business. How do we leave Brienne of Tarth? Well, last we saw of Brienne, she was having let's say a 4-star stay at the inn at the crossroads. Beds were comfortable, a lively scene in the dining hall. The blacksmith was smoking in more ways than one, but I did get my face chewed off by another guest. When I wrote that, I was like, it'd be funny if Long Jane Heddle were to respond to this, we're sorry for the disfiguration you suffered during your stay. Please accept a full refund, and we hope to get your business back someday. Yeah. That's it, really. So, Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right. Well, Brienne knows that she must be dreaming, but it hurts a lot, so that doesn't really fit. She's bound, soaked, feverish, face down on the back of a horse, every step of which is an agony. She hears Pod's voice occasionally. She dreams of the people who've died at her hand or despite her efforts. When the dreams get too dark, she cries out for Jaime. What medical help she gets is from a young girl. Brienne wonders aloud if she might be Sansa, but a man laughs at the idea. Renly is with her, but maybe not. Reality and dreams are merging.
At a stop, the girl gives her drink and confirms that Biter is dead at Gendry's hand. The girl reaffirms that she is not the girl that Brienne seeks. She is Jane Heddle. Brienne asks for the bonds to be loosed, but Gendry, not Renly, intervenes and says she must await Lady Stoneheart's justice. She falls back into dreams. Again she cries out for Jaime and for Oathkeeper. At another stop, she's given soup and asks for Gendry, but now he's returned to the inn. A man with a yellow cape wears the Hound's helm. Now she's hooded when they travel.
Now she dreams of Evenfall and her suitors. That nightmare doesn't need extrapolation, but gets it anyway. She wakes in a cave of some sort. She's clean and her arm has been splinted. A poultice on her cheek. She calls out and a ragged man wakes under a pile of blankets. He offers her food. She wants freedom. He feels her brow and her fever has broken. He explains that Long Jane saved her, but her face will never be pretty. She wonders why the bother if she's going to be hanged by Lady Stoneheart. The man wonders too, but he notes that she fought bravely at the inn, saving the children. Lem shouldn't have left, but he followed a false trail. Brienne asks who they are. He explains that they were the Brotherhood after the king died. Brienne recognizes him of Thoros of Myr. He confirms that Beric Dondarrion is gone, that a grimmer shadow now leads them.
He pushes her to eat. While he's gone, Brienne seeks a weapon, but finds only a stone. Thoros returns with a plain meal, no milk or honey. She asks after her friends. Meribald was set free. Pod and Hyle Hunt are here. Brienne asks for pity, but Thoros of Myr says that there's none to be found here. Men arrive to take her. Brienne steels herself. 4 men. They taunt her about her impending demise. She recognizes the one in the yellow cloak as the Hound, who laughs that he is now that she's killed the last one. Thoros chides Lem for the helm, but he dismisses the priest. They take Brienne to a larger chamber full of people, including women and children. Behind a table sits a hooded woman, handling a bronze and iron crown.
They call her the Kingslayer's whore. Brienne, not the woman behind the table.
Yeah,
that would probably get them into some trouble. When Brienne questions, they explain
although
that
actually some of the Northern Lords might have said the same thing about
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you're right. Yes. Yeah. Well, when Brienne questions why they're calling her that, they explain that she cried out Jaime's name over and over on their journey. They present Brienne's sword with its ruby-eyed lion pommel and the letter signed and sealed by King Tommen. Brienne explains the purpose of the letter to help her keep Jaime's oath to save the girls, but his oaths are not thought to be of high value. Brienne persists she was to find a way to protect Sansa. They can't believe that Jaime would give such a sword to a foe, nor hide Sansa Stark from his own twin sister.
Pod's squiring for Tyrion is further evidence, and Hyle Hunt is one of Randall Tarley's men for whom the Brotherhood have no love. Pod and Hyle Hunt are brought forward, the latter badly beaten. Pod apologises, but Brienne tells him that he has nothing to apologise for. Finally, Lady Stoneheart speaks. She holds a hand to her throat to do so, and even then her voice is a death rattle. Brienne doesn't understand, but a Northman explains that she wants the name of the blade, Oathkeeper. Lady Stoneheart hisses. She names it False Friend. Brienne doesn't understand. The only woman that Brienne ever swore service to is dead. Lady Stoneheart lowers her hood. Mottled flesh, white hair, strips of flesh to the skull, but it is Catelyn Stark. Thoros explains that the phrase slit her throat, but after 3 days, Beric Dondarrion kissed her lips, passing the flame of life from himself to her. She rose.
Brienne thinks she must still be in a fever dream. She vows that she never turned, but Lady Stoneheart says she must reaffirm her faith. She must kill Jamie Lannister. Brienne blusters. He saved me. He's not the man he was. He sent me to protect Sansa Stark. He had no part in the Red Wedding. Lady Stoneheart says, choose. Slay Jaime or be hanged as a betrayer. Brienne won't make that choice. Lady Stoneheart, for once intelligible, says, hang them. Brienne is taken to the surface with a rope around her neck. Hyle Hunt shouts that he'll kill Jaime. Brienne intercedes on Pod's behalf again. If he could take her bones to Evenfall, her father would pay a ransom. Lem is unmoved. All three are dragged upward. All three start to kick and twitch. Finally, Brienne calls out a single word. You think it's the B word?
I actually, I've got a little discussion about what the heck that word would be, because, what would you shout? What is the one word that would stop that? Stop?
Right.
Ouch.
Stop. Oh, that's
Please?
all you had to say. You just had to say the safe word. Yeah, I mean, maybe she's shouting out the B word because, well, let's face it. Really, no good deed goes unpunished here. I mean, she has risked life and limb to find the Stark girls, nearly died protecting the children at the inn. Hyle Hunt, let's not forget Hyle Hunt. She could hear him also engaged in the fight with the Bloody Mummers. And probably Pod was involved too. Yet, they're still being hanged by Lady Stoneheart.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but it is an interesting contrast between. So now we can think of Catelyn Stark as Lady Stoneheart because they are one and the same. The sort of character arc of sort of the two sort of polar opposites of the story to a certain extent, Catelyn and Jaime. Because Catelyn, a lot of people didn't like her very much, but she was a good guy, she was from Team Good. And she made some questionable decisions along the way. But I think, for instance, freeing Jaime was actually a laudable thing. She betrayed the cause in doing that, but she did it for good reasons and what have you. So anyway, she's basically Team Good. And Jaime pushed Bran out of a tower.
Right. Can't forget that detail.
Can never forget that one. And yet here he is, pretty much hero of the story now. Meanwhile, Catelyn is going to hang Brienne. It's terrible.
Yes, it is quite the
Of all the people
switch
in the story, Brienne is the moral center of the story. There is nobody more moral than. I think that's probably fair, actually. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else.
Yeah, maybe Ned, but Ned is no longer with the story, so
that's true.
Could you imagine if Ned and Brienne had been a power couple? That would be something.
No, because they wouldn't have been powerful because they were too damn rigid.
It's true.
Power requires nimbleness of thought, which they both lack.
Well, yeah, you make a point. Yeah.
All right. So getting into this, I mean, I did say last time that I was worried about those wounds, that they were going to.
Right.
And you know me, it wasn't recollection.
I can honestly say you did not know that was coming.
Basic medical hygiene suggested those were going to fester and not be good. So she is horribly disfigured, assuming she comes out of the hanging not dead.
Yes, right. But, we did last brand chapter. You and I were discussing, I don't recall whether you and I left it in the episode or not, but we were discussing whether Lady Stoneheart, the name, had previously come up.
Had reached Brienne's ears.
Yes, but she seems to recall Randall Tarley using that name.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it must have come up, I guess.
Yeah, I think it probably did. I think you're right.
Now, we hadn't heard the names Silent Sister, Mother Merciless, or Hangwoman. Those are new ones that we learned this chapter. So,
sometimes when I'm making the notes, I skip all those extra names just as detritus that's just going to weigh us down. And I don't know if that's just me. I like it. I mean, to me, it adds a richness to the story. If everybody calls somebody Lady Stoneheart, that doesn't have the ring of truth. People are going to have their own names for a character. That,
Yeah.
But for us retelling the story, it's a lot simpler if we just drop all those other things.
True. Yeah. That makes some sense. When the name Hangwoman is mentioned, Brienne becomes filled with fear, because she recalls all the trees in the last chapter that were filled with hanged men. And then she starts worrying about her companion's fate because she doesn't know where they are. She keeps coming in and out of consciousness, and she doesn't seem to have the ability to focus to see where they are.
Yeah.
But, I went back and looked at the Storm of Swords epilogue, the one with Merritt Frey, where he gets hanged. And it's explained in that chapter, epilogue, that Lady Stoneheart couldn't speak. She was just pointing and gesturing. So some point between that epilogue, the end of A Storm of Swords, and here near the end of A Feast for Crows, she has discovered that if she puts her hand over the slice in her throat, that she can make some audible-ish type words.
I also have a slightly jokey comment about that later on as well.
I know, I read it.
So, part of her journey, she's accompanied by Lemon Cloak, who is wearing the Hound's helmet, which, of course, for Brienne, in her fever dreams, this is completely confusing because it's like, oh my God, I've not only been, wounded to the point of almost death, but I've been captured by the Hound. Forgetting that she knows the Hound is dead, but here he is. The Hound's helm is one of the people holding her hostage. So
and she thinks to herself, I killed you. And,
yes.
It's because she's thinking of Rorg, but at that point, her fever is too strong. She's too not within her right mind to realize. Later on, she does realize, wait, it was Rorg that I killed.
Right,
You're not Rorg.
So Lem is the third Hound because it went from Sandor Clegane to Rorg to Lem.
Yes. And just a reminder on Lem, he was the one that found Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie, and took them to that inn, and then Arya broke his nose. So he's been around. He's got the lemon cloak. But it feels, and I think Thoros agrees here, that it feels kind of like bad juju to be owning this helm and wearing it.
Yeah, and it kind of that comment where Thoros criticizes Lem for wearing the helm of the Hound when they're supposed to be the Brotherhood kind of goes to the decay of the Brotherhood since the transition from Beric Dondarrion to Lady Stoneheart, that they were noble freedom fighters, stealing from the unworthy to give to the poor, but now they've become ragtag bunch of venge-filled murderers, basically.
Yes, and I think that's the key. Venge-filled is when they were fighting under Beric, they had a different purpose. Now their new leader's purpose is solely retribution and revenge, and everything else falls to the side. But I also think it draws the wrong type of attention. That helmet, any who see it, they're going to think he's the mad dog of salt pans, and they just don't need that kind of exposure right now.
What you need to do is draw on the side of it, sort of like I killed the Hound, the mad dog of salt pans.
Yes.
And took his helmet, something like that.
Right. This is a memento only.
Yeah. We asked last time who we thought killed Biter, and we finally got the answer on that. It was Gendry who did it. So Gendry saved Brienne's life, at least temporarily.
It was. It didn't turn out that Biter had a Gene Simmons-like tongue. It was the end of a spear, the pointy end of a spear that had been rammed through his mouth.
I don't know if because my laugh sounded like a cough just then, but I don't think it registered. I think it kind of like I did laugh at that joke. Everybody, please know I laughed at Mackelly's joke.
But she wanted to talk to Gendry the second time. Possibly to tell him what she knows about his parentage. I'm not sure if she would have been able to stay
conscious enough.
I did wonder
what she was thinking of, but that makes sense.
Last chapter, the chapter where the fight happened, right before the outlaws rode into the onto screen. Yes, and it seemed like she was just about to launch in. She said, "What do you know of your father?" And they never got to finish that discussion.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, because of her fever, she keeps lapsing into him, thinking that he's Renly, not Gendry. So, it was actually kind of in the early part of the chapter, it was a barometer of how compos mentis she was if she thought of him as Gendry or Renly.
Yeah. So she has a lot of dreams. A decent chunk of this chapter is taken up by her coming in and out of consciousness, and I don't believe they require that much analysis. I mean, they're mostly filled with people from her past, loved ones, friends, foes. Like you said, continually mixing up Renly with Gendry.
Yeah.
Only being able to tell the difference because Gendry is scowling and Renly always was smiling. There is a fight scene with her fighting Clarence Crabbe. But she reaches for her sword and she doesn't have her magic sword. And I think that stems from that chapter with Nimble Dick Crabbe when they were debating Clarence Crabbe versus Sir Galadon of Morn, the Knight of Legend on Tarth. And Galadon had a magic sword that was given to him by the maid. It was by the maiden. The sword was called Just Maid. And of course, Oathkeeper is her magic sword. So I think that's where that was coming from. There was a like we said in the summary, there was a dream of her suitor. She specifically dreamed of her meeting with Red Ronnet Connington and how poorly that went. And in the dream, she bit off her tongue and wasn't able to speak.
Exactly. Who needed that scenario to get worse?
Right. And of course, Red Ronnet, the suitor, turns into Jaime, and
Just as an aside, I will say the name of the sword, Just Made, works better on paper than it does in audio format.
You're right.
It sounds
MADE?
Is it still hot?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not sure because of the fever dream. I think she always thought that one of these Heddled girls might be Sansa. She continues to hope that Jane might be. But Jane is Jane Heddle. She's nobody else. But she really does save Brienne's life. I mean, splinting the arm, boiled ale on the face. For a medieval field doctor, she's done all she can, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's superficial, but it's sad that she will have this awful scarring on her face. Like you said, if she survives the day. But it's a lot of ways, it's kind of like Tyrion. Both of them are already considered physically undesirable by the average Westerosi standard. And now, Tyrion having lost his nose, Brienne is going to have this terrible facial injury.
I'd forgotten about how many people have had disfiguring injuries since we started. It's getting to be a long list, and horrible injuries too.
Yes, right.
So, we talked about the sort of decay of the Brotherhood. I think one of the things that sort of exhibits that is the fact that when Thoros tries to feed Brienne, he can't find milk. The milk's gone sour and he can't find any honey. And it feels like they used to run quite a tight ship logistically and have a lot of supporters which help them logistically as well, and that's gone by the wayside. They're basically no better than outlaws now. And I mean, their justice was always rough. It's not, we shouldn't rose tint how they were. I mean, they executed people left and right from both sides, if you remember. But it now feels like it's being dispensed ever wider and ever more indiscriminately now.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. Yeah, I feel like exactly, you said it very well. Basically, the whole organization feels like it's falling apart without Beric Dondarrion. And I think the physical state of Thoros is a bit of a metaphor for the state of the Brotherhood, because he's described as looking really rough. The long gray hair, loose facial skin, ratty robes that were pink and whitish.
Yeah. And, she calls him the Red Wizard, and he calls himself the Pink Pretender.
Yes, exactly. And this is a man who once won many melees, like multiple.
Right.
And basically, her description is of a frail old man. Now, possibly giving the gift of life would take its toll or something, or possibly he's malnourished because they're not, they're not eating as well as they were, and with winter coming on and the Riverlands being ravaged how they've been, it's probably not helping his state either. But all the brothers that are described physically anyway are looking pretty rough. Even Lem, his cloak is in tatters, and he did not look like the picture of health either.
Yeah. And Brienne finds that she was kind of let down in the inn by Lem, who was supposed to be lying in wait to attack if smoke rose from the inn's chimney, because the children were alone. The inn was a trap for outlaws looking to take advantage, but he'd ridden off on some false trail and wasn't there to defend it. So thank goodness Brienne was there. I think it should get her some a little clemency, perhaps. At
least like a one-on-one discussion with Lady Stoneheart or something for her to plead her case more than she got to.
It would have to be a 2-on-1 because Brienne cannot understand a word the woman says.
Oh, that's true. But I think I understood the details how you just described them. That it seemed like Lem was supposed to be hiding out near the inn. When outlaws came to the inn, the children would light fire in a chimney, and then Lem and his men would swoop down on the outlaws. But I'm not positive. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would the Bloody Mummers create a feint to get past him? Was there something special at the inn? How did they know this trap was set up in the first place? I didn't quite follow what was supposed to be going on there with all of that.
Yeah, I suppose it's funny because now you've said it, I'm now suspicious myself. But at the time, as I read it, I was like, if you're sitting waiting for smoke to rise from a chimney, if you get the scent of something you could follow, you might go follow it just because you're bored and you've got nothing else to do. But yeah, it's a good point. I mean, especially because it's children. You'd like to think you'd keep a real eye out for them. But Lem in this chapter comes across as increasingly unconcerned with his reputation.
He does, yes. And also increasingly unconcerned with any level of justice
Right.
or, morals or anything like that.
Yeah, you'd like to think that as he's dragging Brienne to face Lady Stoneheart, he would be saying, just tell her the truth. I mean, she's probably going to hang you because, you pretty much sabotaged her, but he's not.
Right.
He's telling her, I hope you enjoyed that food because that's your last meal, lady. It's like, come on.
Yeah, yeah. He's very callous about the whole thing. Now he thinks she betrayed Lady Stoneheart, and and is a Lannister supporter, a Lannister apologist or whatever. So I guess that's why he's treating her as such, possibly. But why are they using children as part of a trap? It doesn't feel like that's a very good idea. It almost horribly backfired on them this time.
Well, you remember the thing that I'd read last time that I mentioned,
yes,
which was that it might be a trap not for the outlaws of Salt Pans, but for Arya Stark.
Yes,
they thought Arya might get attracted to that.
Now that makes some sense, and I could get behind that idea, but using them just to lure in ne'er-do-wells,
yeah,
that seems like a really bad idea.
And to be fair to Lem, if the smoke was supposed to indicate, hey, Arya Stark's here, then wandering off doesn't seem such a big crime anymore.
Right. She'll still be there when I get back.
Exactly. So the circumstantial evidence against Brienne, I mean, we know she's innocent of this charge, but the circumstantial evidence is pretty damning because unfortunately,
really is.
And the more you read this chapter, the more you hear it. Because when you read the chapter twice in quick succession, or multiple times as we do, you hear the accusation, you kept crying out Jaime's name. And when you reread it, you're like, oh, God, would you stop shouting his name? It's just a nightmare. Anyone else?
Your
King
father's
of the North,
name.
Just something else.
Yeah, she said it enough when she was awake. If she was also saying it when his name while she was unconscious, that might have just been a constant repetition.
And then Oathkeeper. I was like, I didn't think Oathkeeper was going to be evidence, but then I forgot about the pommel. And they say when they lay it in front of Lady Stoneheart, she doesn't pay any attention to the sort of like the flickering blade. All she's looking at is that lion head pommel with ruby eyes. It's like, oh man, that
doesn't
good.
Look good. No, exactly. It sure doesn't.
Now, the letter sealed by King Tommen, that's very circumstantial. Were it not for these other things sort of backing it up, it's like right. So the king, who we know is a Lannister incestuous bastard, approved this mission. Is that what you're telling us?
Right. Now, like you said, we know she's telling the truth, but if you look at it from their point of view, we know about the issues between Cersei and Jaime, but they don't know that. I mean, that's an awfully hard sell that Jaime gave this Valyrian steel sword that his house has been pining for forever to get Brienne to find Sansa Stark and hide her from his own twin sister.
Right.
Everyone believes is having an incestuous relationship with. I mean, that's a lot to swallow right there.
Yeah, and I believe it's Lem himself who says, and hide him from his own twin. But I mean, that is absolutely what he would do. That's precisely what he's trying to do. And the last piece of evidence is Pod, and it's like, oh man, you'd think Pod would be the sort of like, you've got the moral center of the story and her henchman, who's kind of the second most moral center of this story.
Right.
But oh my God, I forgot. He squired for and fought and killed for Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, that doesn't look good either. Now, the story that's getting around the realm is that Tyrion killed Joffrey. So, maybe that would help a little bit, but clearly not enough.
Claim that one. I did that.
Yeah, I did that, yeah. But I was thinking when Lady Stoneheart was staring at Oathkeeper, the sword, I was wondering if there was any possible way that she was recognizing that sword as part of ice.
As melted ice.
Her husband's family's ancestral Valyrian steel sword. If so, that could really only make matters worse. And,
yeah. Brienne would go, wait, though, that's eyes. Oh, no.
I'm bringing, no, wait, never mind. But one quick aside about all this is, so there's a man who's translating. I know you're probably going to talk about this man fairly soon.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to mention that she describes him as having a northern accent. Yeah, it's Harwin. The man's Harwin.
Almost certainly,
from Winterfell. But it's one of the rare references to regional accents, and I've always felt that was something that was sort of missing from this story, is the lack of regional accents and how people can pretend to be whoever they want, despite the fact that they might sound like they're from the far north, which, as you coming from an island that not all that unlike Westeros, you have told me accents range from a few miles apart from each other. So,
and from different ends of the country, you would spot it in a heartbeat. I mean, there's certainly ways to hide it. You can fake an accent for sure, but if you don't fake the accent, there's absolutely no escaping the fact that people would immediately know within 20 miles where you're from the moment you open your mouth.
Right. So that stuck out to me when she said he had a northern accent.
Yeah. So we finally get Lady Stoneheart's true backstory. She truly is Catelyn Stark. She'd been dead for 3 days when Beric Dondarrion kissed her and gave up his eternal flame to her. My question is, why would he do that? I mean, I know he was kind of weary of being brought back, it seemed, and was kind of like tiring of it. But what would possess him to kiss a 3-day-old corpse of a woman who's had her throat slit in the hope that she would reanimate? Who's benefiting from that?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that he did it because you remember when Arya asked if he could bring her father back, and he said, "No, I'm sorry, I can't." He saw this opportunity.
It was Thoros that said that, but it was Beric that said that.
That's a good question. Maybe they were both in the room.
I think they were both in the room. I think that's reasonable to say they were both in the room. But yes, that really does track. That it was like, oh, you know what? As one last throw of the dice, let's see. But I mean, she didn't look like she would become like the maternal figure that Arya would probably be pining for.
Yes, nor like the solid replacement as the leader of this group for him when he is no longer with them.
I mean, perhaps he didn't bank on that. It's like,
right, he didn't know it was the end of him.
Back to Winterfell and patch up your throat.
Find a maester. Is there not a maester nearby that can do something? So they're likely the men. You remember that dream, the wolf dream that Arya was having when Nymeria found Kat's body. It's likely that these were the men.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say likely. It's possible that these were the men.
Yeah. I mean, it ties together. It'd be weird if it was a different group of men finding the body and not kissing it. What's the point of that dream, Arya? You know what happened the next day?
But, one thing before we wrap up about the Brotherhood, it seems that under Beric Dondarrion, it seemed that Thoros had a much more significant voice within the Brotherhood. But the feeling that I got in this chapter is that he's just one of the guys. He doesn't seem to carry the clout that he did before. Like when he tells Lem he doesn't like the helmet, and Lem just ignores him, says, well, deal with it.
Well, I guess, some of that must be the sort of literally he was bringing Beric back to life, You'd pay that person some respect, but now Beric's gone, it's like, you're just a drunken old fool.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear that Lady Stoneheart rules unilaterally. She doesn't seem to seek counsel or advice. There was no discussion about this.
Either Lady Stoneheart or Harwin. We'll get into it.
It's true. But one thing about Lady Stoneheart is, in this scene when she's holding and studying the bronze crown with the iron swords, the description of that crown matches Robb Stark's crown. So I think she was kind of staring at it and pining over the loss of her son.
Lady Stoneheart wants Brienne to kill Jaime. I kind of understand that. It feels like he rescinded on his vows.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
want to lay some of the blame of this at Roose Bolton's feet, but I don't quite get the connection. Help me.
Well, first of all, I do think Brienne tried to make a solid plea for Jaime. He saved me multiple times.
Yes.
He sent me on this quest to try and honor his oath. He's a changed man.
I will say, though, that saving me multiple times, that only works if you're Team Catelyn still. If you've both gone over, that doesn't really help. Okay,
it doesn't. No.
Yeah.
But here's where Roose Bolton comes into play. When Roose stabbed Robb Stark at the Red Wedding, he said, Jamie Lannister sends his regards, and then plunged the dagger in. Because when they were at Harrenhal, when Brienne, Jaime, and Roose were at that dinner at Harrenhal, it was known that Roose was about to travel to the twins for the wedding. Jaime said, send my regards to Robb Stark. So, Roose did. And from Kat's perspective, it sounds like Jaime orchestrated this.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. That's a very good tie-in, actually. And it's a nice piece of writing as well to keep that sort of like that bubbling under. Because you're right, to a certain extent, what Brienne's saying could ring true to Lady Stoneheart. If her heart was not stone, she might be like, well, actually, I can believe this. If you get to King's Landing and both girls are missing, what are you going to do?
Yeah, right. Going to ride off and try and find them.
Come back to Riverrun to continue your captivity? I don't think so. And so, at the end of the chapter, Brienne screams a word to get out of the mess. We don't know what the word is. I think it's a little bit unlike it. In pedantry, I'm going to talk about what that word might have been. But you believe that George Martin has told people what that word is, and that's going in spoilers.
Yes, exactly correct.
Well, let's draw a line under this and go to spoilers. Remember, you can listen to the spoilers if you join the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tiers at the appropriate levels. All right. Well, that was genuinely mediocre spoilery, Mackelly, just so you know.
That one word didn't wow you.
if we ever want to lure people into the Buy Me a Coffee upper tiers, we won't use that one as the example, just so you know. But anyway, to background.
Well, so there's not much here. It's mostly dreams, a kangaroo court, and being hanged. Although Rorig and Biter technically died last chapter, they feature fairly heavily in this one. And I looked around and couldn't find an instance where I've mentioned what I'm about to mention before. So my apologies if I have. We're working on a short week, so my research wasn't as thorough as it might have been. But according to an interview that Martin did in 2006, there is a small bit of backstory to their relationship. It seems that Rorig ran a dog and bear fighting pit in Flea Bottom of King's Landing, and he found Biter as an orphan and raised him fairly to fight dogs in the pit. There's no mention of fighting bears, although it was Biter that replaced the bear in Brienne's dream of the bear pit in Harrenhal in this chapter, so maybe something there.
And
the duo were always Biter and Rorig. They were always together, and Biter seemed highly upset when Brienne killed Rorig last chapter, so there might have been some kind of something like a father-son type relationship there, although my guess is it wasn't as wholesome as the Ned Stark boys' father-son relationship.
I'm guessing not.
Yeah.
As a comparison with the television show, I probably should have looked up to see if Brienne interacted with the Brotherhood. She probably did, but there was no face chewing. There was no Lady Stoneheart in the TV show. So,
that's right. Yeah.
So, the core of this chapter is definitely missing. So let's jump to pedantry, which is going to be fun today, I think. So, what one word could you scream at that point to turn the tide?
Well, we've already had spoilers where I told you the word and it still doesn't answer the question.
Unconvinced, just so you know. So, but then I thought the perfect person to have on hand would be Harwin. Because Harwin is able to interpret unintelligible noises from ladies who have a constriction in their throat. So when Brienne says, he says, oh, she says she's willing to ensnare Jaime in a fiendish trap in order to save herself and her two companions. Or if Harwin isn't there, I love the idea of Lem saying something along the lines of, did you get that? No, me neither. Do you know who would? That Harwin guy. Go get him. So then she's still like, her feet are still clicking on the floor while she's like dangling from the tree. Meanwhile, some guy's running off to get Harwin, and Harwin comes back and, say it again. You know a maester who's done amazing things with throat surgery, and you think you can bring her voice back? It's like, but I'd be out of a job. Kill her! Hang her! String her up! I just find the whole thing a bit... And the thing is, what kind of brinksmanship was she playing? She didn't want to die, right?
Right, sure, yeah.
So presumably, whatever one word she said was to the effect of, okay, I will kill Jamie Lannister to get back in your good graces and prove my faith. Yeah?
Right, yeah.
Why not say that before the three of you are hanging from trees?
Yeah, maybe, right. Maybe at first she thought they're not going to actually hang us.
Right. That's a very good point, Mackelly. So there's a sort of like calling of a bluff thing here, right? What have they got to gain by bluffing about this?
True.
Oh, we couldn't kill you three. You're so precious to us.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the basically that section of the Riverlands is littered with trees with people hanging from
They
them,
just did that to build up the bluff, really.
That's right.
And the other thing is, she waited until the decision maker was not within earshot.
True. Yes. There's no mention of Lady Stoneheart coming along for the hanging. So yeah, you're right. So what happens then? Do they have to take them down and say, "Go ask Lady Stoneheart what you want us to do here"?
And so the kicker of that is, so some guy gets volunteered to run back downstairs and talk to Lady Stoneheart. Hey, she said a special word. And then Lady Stoneheart has to go, right, here we go. You know I said hang her, right?
Did I stutter?
She'd be so mad. You would not want that job. You would not want to be that guy.
And unless it's Harwin, who knows what her response would be anyway?
Harwin runs down the stairs on the spot and then comes back up a few minutes later with her answer.
Oh, this has been a fun Pedantry Corner. It's a good one.
All right, that's enough of that. Enough of this frivolity.
Yes, yeah.
So news and notes.
News and notes. So here is the plan for the next few weeks for our episode release. Remember, the outtake episode is going to come out on December 24th, Christmas Eve, and there will be no episode on December 31st, New Year's Eve. But we'll be back with you in the new year to wrap up Feast for Crows and kick off another year and a half of A Dance with Dragons.
Oh man, that is a daunting prospect right there.
It really is. It really is. You described it well last week before we started recording when you said it's like being a Tour de France rider. You just go up a huge hill and then you look in front of you and there's an even bigger hill.
Spotted jerseys all around, yes. And this is your last chance to get Ghosts of Harrenhal merchandise for the holidays. Don't forget our website there is ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com.
That's right. Get out there and get some stuff.
All right, let's conclude this one. So it was Hobson's choice for Brienne. She pushed the envelope as much as anyone would, far more than she should.
Yeah.
Why not just say okay before the noose,
Yeah. I follow it. Yeah, I follow your logic there.
Yeah.
I guess she was trying... I mean, what's the thought? I'm trying to not let Jaime down by not betraying him. But instead, I'm going to let Jaime down because I'm going to die and my two companions are going to die.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Way,
I get it.
All of the circumstantial evidence against her made me watch the scene from Austin Powers where he's getting his belongings back when he's leaving jail. Do you remember that scene?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
A letter from the king. A lion-headed pommeled horse. A sword.
It's not mine. This is not mine.
This is not my bag.
Oh.
Sorry. I realised that was apropos of nothing.
Oh, I liked it, though. But, it's also terrible irony here that she has basically dedicated this part of her life to honoring a commitment to Catelyn Stark to now be hanged by the same person.
Right.
For the efforts made to find the girls. I mean, it's one thing for her to be hanged by some outlaws, or whatever. But by the very person who she has worked so hard, risked life and limb to try and keep her word to, is the one that's hanging her.
Yeah, she can't win. I mean, so she's widely believed to have betrayed Renly, her vows to Renly, and now believed by Catelyn to have betrayed her vows to Catelyn as well. It's like, I'm Brienne of Tarth, not Jamie Lannister.
I was thinking, if she had had an opportunity to talk with Lady Stoneheart one-on-one, I wonder if she could have prevailed. You and I have been through a lot together. You and I were in the tent with Renly.
So?
You were with me in the tent with Renly. We fled together, but there was no opportunity because Lem, especially, and the others were constantly undermining everything she said. There was no opportunity to make any level of connection with whatever is left of Catelyn and Lady Stoneheart.
And if she does get out of this, her disfigurement is not going to help her self-esteem. I mean, she was not the prettiest to begin with, but now she's going to scare children.
Yeah, that was her thought when Thoros said, "You're not going to be pretty," and she thought to herself, "I never was."
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that she's had a mirror to see how bad it is.
And on Thoros, it's terrible to see the Brotherhood turn into an agency of hate and revenge. They and the Riverlands are the worse for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to say actually was just that it just, like I said before, it feels like Catelyn and Jaime are on sort of like concentric arcs going in opposite directions. He is reinventing himself as the hero of the story, whereas Catelyn is, becoming a villain of the piece.
Right. I had not thought about that till you brought it up. That's an interesting idea. I like it.
So next up is a Cersei chapter. I wonder if she's still outpacing Littlefinger's expectations of her.
How could she not be?
Well, there's 4 ways that you can help us. You could leave us a positive review. You can, for the holidays, you can still buy merchandise at our store, ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com. It's your last chance. You can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostsharrenhal. Join us there at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest, and the upper tiers get you the usually better than this spoilers. Or you can make a donation. Make a donation directly to us at our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, well, first off, you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode's show notes. Just keep in mind, we cannot respond to your text, but we do enjoy and appreciate reading them. And if you're looking for more ways to keep up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal, or on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.